guys, Ash here, Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. I'm glad to have you all here with me today. What's better than a secret nuker? Define secret nuker, Ash. What the hell is secret nuker? What does that mean, dude? Secret nuker means a nuker who you didn't know about.
Purple is the color of many pretty things from a lilac.
A nuker who you didn't know about, or a support kind of stealth nuker. You know, one of those support champions, maybe one of those support champions with an AoE on the A1 that does a ton of damage, but you just never built them for damage. Those are the type of champions that we're going to be talking about in today's video. So I have kind of two categories of champion. I'll try to alternate as much as I can between the two and give you 10 champions that I did not previously know can deal an insane amount of damage. So let's start with an epic here, and then we'll get to kind of mostly legendary supports. And as I said, we'll kind of go back and forth. This guy, man, I thought that good old Skrank, I thought he was just a burner. No. He's also an insane damage dealer. He's a really, really cool champion. I think he is the best HP burner epic in the game.
You sure about that?
I think so. Even over like a Mordecai, you know, namely, his damage is great, but he's void affinity, so you don't have to worry about what stage of Spire or whatever dungeon you're on, Ice Golem. He'll work everywhere and be effective absolutely everywhere. I shouldn't even compare him. There's a lot of good epic burners out there, nothing against Mordecai, but he's really good. 1421 base attack is very, very solid, especially for an epic. On his A1, he has the big version of Weaken, right? Really solid. 100 or 75% land rate, excuse me, I'm jumping the gun there, if the target's under a burn, so very dependable, a great source of the big version of Weaken on that A1. He has a 2-time hitter on the A2, he's healing himself, and an increased attack buff on this champion if the target is under a burn. 3-turn cooldown, so now he's bringing his own increased attack. On the A3, it's his AoE, HP burn, 3-turn cooldown, 100% land rate, fills his turn meter if at least one enemy is hit with a critical hit. And then it all comes together with the Pyromania.
I mean, do I look like this?
Passive. Increases champion's attack and crit damage by 5% every time an HP burn debuff triggers on an enemy. Stacks up to 25%. So you get a nice 25% attack bonus, 25% crit damage bonus, just having a few HP burns trigger on the enemies, right? That's a really nice stat bonus. He's even better when empowered as well. Skrank is a beast. I'm going to show you all these champions multipliers as well. Thanks to HellHades.com, they give him a 5 out of 5 in Dark Fae, a 4 out of 5 in the Arena. This is Skrank here, ladies and gentlemen. Ice Golem Hard, 4.5 grade Spider, 5 out of 5 in Spider Normal. He has a 3 attack on his A1. He has a 2.5 on the A2, godlike damage rating. That's a 2-time hitter. And then a 3.8 on the AoE. He brings his own increased attack. Like I said, he scales up his attack. Yeah, what a really underrated nuker damage dealer, right? All right, now let's pivot a little bit here, guys. Let's talk about a support nuker who is a legendary. This one probably a lot of you guys, well, maybe some of you guys are aware of. My favorite faction in the game, Knights Revenant, and it's the Red Lady. Mother Cybele. I love Mother Cybele, man. I didn't go for a fusion like a million years ago. I got her after the fact, and I'm like, wow, she's really good. Specifically her A1 or A2 and her base stats. Like, let's start with the speed. 115 speed puts her in the, you know, the upper S tier echelon of speed base, you know, in the game, right? She has an AoE on her A1 ability with the decreased speed. It's the typical 50% decreased speed that we see on like a White Dryad Naya and a Krisk the Ageless on the A1 ability. But it's also filling her turn meter by 15%. She's an HP-based champion as well. Her damage scales off of HP, so you can build her super tanky, and you can also get more damage out of that A1 ability. She brings increased defense and revive on death on the A2 as well. Good for Sand Devil. Really good for Hydra. She does have an increased speed, block damage, continuous heal on an ally. She's swapping HP, and whoever has the lower gets those buffs. She brings speed in all battles by 24%. I mean, she's really solid. Fully heals the ally lowest HP whenever this champion is killed, then she can be revived and you can just keep healing and healing. Heals all allies by 20% of their max HP and fills their turn meter by 15% when she's revived. So, good to pair her with a reviver for obvious reasons. She dies, she heals. She fills turn meter, she comes back, you know? Really solid. Anyway, the damage is what we're here to actually talk about here. And on the A1, she has a 0.2 multiplier. 0.2 multiplier, super solid. That is only 0.02 off from Eric's A1, okay? Just to give you some perspective here. Eric's has a very hard-hitting AoE on her A1 ability, and it's a 0.22 HP multiplier. It does give it a weak overall grading, but that's more based on her base HP at 19k not being super high for an HP based damage dealer, but you can obviously still scale that up. You can work your way around that, and you're not going to be disappointed with the damage that you can bring to your Hydra Clan Boss team specifically, because that AoE on the A1 hitting 4 targets, yada yada yada. She's not as good as some of the other support nukers in terms of the overall damage, but I felt like she deserved a shout out because she's versatile, she's super fast, she has a cool passive, and she can deal a lot of damage, again, for a support champion in Hydra specifically. All right, guys, next up, we're going to talk about the man, the myth, the legend. I am a card-carrying president of, say it with me, the Tagor fan club. Oh, Tagor. You know what? People are finally picking up on Tagor, aren't they?
Hi, my name is Franz Goldberg, and I'm what you would call a social media influencer.
I don't know if you guys watch any other content creators, but I was watching YST and Hell Hades, and they were ranking like their most underrated epics, and I was very proud of them. They gave Tagor some love. Finally, it's going around. This dude is a monster. But you know what else he does?
How would I know?
Besides reviving, besides damage mitigation, besides increased defense, besides increased speed, besides a great shield, besides a great heal based on his HP. You know what else he does? He does an AoE attack on a 3-turn cooldown that's an attack-based, damage ability, and he has 1145 base attack. It might not sound like much, but it's actually a lot for a reviver, and he has an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. Tagor can actually deal damage if you scale up that attack, in addition to everything else that he's doing. One thing to note, not just on Tagor, but on, I want to say like 3 or 4 of the champions that we're talking about today. The reason these champions value, and I should have said this at the top of the damn video, but the reason these champions value is especially noteworthy right now, is because right now with Ascension, right, it's the easiest it's ever been to scale up attack, even if the base numbers aren't that impressive, right? So with some of the other champions we talk about in today's video, you're just gonna put an attack ring, an attack banner, and then just look for attack where you can get it. Maybe some ascension stats, yada, yada, yada. And eventually you're gonna be sitting on a lot of attack, even if their base attack is like 800 or 700, it doesn't matter. You're gonna be able to scale that up vis-a-vis flat stats, ascension, etc. Anyway, Tagor on the list. We love you, Tagor. His multipliers, by the way, on that A2, believe it or not, is a 3.7. That is a super solid multiplier for a support, considering his base attack is 1145. Like, dude, that's awesome. You don't have to build this champion for damage, but he's pretty dang good if you do. Okay, next up on the list is going to be, let's go with an epic again here, guys. And it's an epic that I've spoken about her in the past. I gotta give a shout out to you guys for mentioning this epic to me, man. Fileja?
Fileja.
You haven't been doing your speech therapy, have you?
Whatever she is, she's awesome. She deals a lot of damage. And the cool thing about Fileja is that she actually doesn't have high base attack at all. She has 1310. You look at her base stats and you look at her kit at first and you're like, dude, she looks awful, huh? But she actually smacks. Righteous Evocation is a very, very hard-hitting nuke. Not a ton of players out there know that. Attacks all enemies, heals his champion's turn meter by 15%, and heals them by 15% of the damage inflicted if the attack is critical. So you get the heal, you get the turn meter fill, and you get a strong AoE attack. Also noteworthy on her A2, Crushing Eternity attacks one enemy, 100% chance to fully deplete the target's turn meter. It's like Lyssandra's Exhaustion, only 1 cooldown more on it. It's a really strong ability. Specifically, she's great for Dark Fae, the most important Doom Tower boss, arguably to farm with the lethal gear. So Fileja is really, really solid. I was super impressed with her. I just put out this video, guys, but I had to put this champion on the list, guys. It's an old school. I snub Scartorsis forever, like for so long in this game. Like, Scartorsis needs a buff. He sucks. That's how I felt for about 4 years. And then I did what I just told you guys, right? I actually started to stack a bunch of attack on him, right? And boy, was I impressed. He dealt like 70 to 100 million damage for me in Hydra Clan Boss. I know that's kind of, you know, anecdotal. It depends on the team around him, yada, yada, yada. But I did exactly what I said. Even though he has a boatload of HP and a solid amount of defense, his speed is actually super good as well. At 109, he's got a great support ability. This is a cleanse, a heal, and a turn meter fill all in one ability on a 4-turn cooldown, a la like a Mausoleum Mage, just a little bit better on the A3, right? He also brings increased attack, increased crit rate, big versions, 3-turn cooldown, but he has an AoE with buff steal on the A1 ability. It's actually one of the better buff steal AoEs out there. Certainly can't compete with like a Sun Wukong or a, what's his face? The dwarf, Samar Gem Cursed. But other than that, like it's a pretty solid one to have it, especially on the AoE with a 50% chance of stealing a random buff from each enemy. Also brings speed in dungeons by 33%. Great speed or a lead. But this A1, guys, it has a 4 attack multiplier. A 4 multiplier. Again, right now in the game, it's possible to actually get that 850. It's awful. 859 is an awful number, and it can deter you from even considering building him for damage. But I'll tell you what, if you throw crit rate on the gauntlets or crit damage on the gauntlets, if you're, if you have the gear on your account, he can actually deal a lot of damage. It adds up over time with that A1 ability, especially, put a Hexer on the team as well. You'll be surprised at the damage he can do with that multiplier, depending on how high you can scale that attack up. In the video that we highlighted him on, I was at around 3,600 base attack, and he did around 70 million damage, but we can get it even higher if we wanted to. So Scartorsis is definitely a very cool champion. I think you guys know about him. He's not officially on the list, but while we're here, Suzerain Catan is also another sneaky damage dealer. Not sneaky, he's just a solid damage dealer. He's never like blown me away. That's why I didn't make the list, but he's solid. A bunch of AoEs, pretty good Hydra option for you guys.
I am 329th in line, and nobody forget it. Well, at least the line is moving.
All right, anyway, I digress. Scartorsis, a 4 multiplier. That's insane. All right, let's go with another epic here, guys. This is another one that you guys told me about back in the day. And boy, you were not wrong. Some smart viewers I have out there. You guys, Darrac. Now listen, since you guys told me about him, since we made a video, I felt like there's been a lot of buzz around him in the community. But again, I have to keep talking about him because holy smokes, I just missed him even being added to the game back in the day when he was added. This Dispatch Them. An AoE 15% ignore defense fills his champion's turn meter by 10% on each critical hit. This Dispatch Them smacks. It smacks. He's a really fun arena nuker or damage dealer in Cursed City or Doom Tower, kind of wave content, and of course Faction Wars, right? Check out the multipliers here on Dispatch Them with the built-in ignore defense. I mean, a lot of his damage is coming from the lethal or savage, plus the ignore defense on the abilities themselves, plus obviously Helm Smasher. Royal Assassin ignores 50% target defense. This Royal Assassin, guys, I don't know definitively, but I want to say it's probably the hardest hitting single attack ability out of any epic in the entire game, right? I mean, who else is in the conversation is my question, Maybe a couple that we're going to mention in this video. Obviously, like a Whisper might be in the conversation, but look at the multipliers, guys, and then you tell me, right? It ignores 50% of target's defense, and it has a 5.8 multiplier. That's big. You can get 100% ignore defense with a Helm Smasher proc in Savage gear, plus the 50%. 100% ignore defense on an epic champion, that's super hard to find, and it's so strong. Perfect Veil if the attack is critical as well for more survivability. Hell yeah. Darrac, really good. All right, I made a whole video talking about this champion, but she absolutely falls under the Scartorsis category, but even better. And it's Taria. She should be better because she's a Void legendary. I remember similar to Scartorsis, and I've told this story before, so I'll be brief, but I scoffed at Taria. I was like, Taria, get the hell out of here. I remember I pulled a dupe of her, and I was so bummed out, like, what the heck am I gonna do with this crap? Faction Guardian, whatever. She sucks, she needs a buff, yada, blah. Dude, she's an AoE on the A1 with decreased speed. She's an AoE on the A2 as well with stun or, well, stun. And then she has a cleanse, right, with turn meter fill on the A3. She's immune to sleep, and she fills her turn meter whenever an enemy tries to place a fear or true fear on this champion, right, which is really solid, obviously, for Hydra. She brings speed in all battles by 23%. She's a great speed lead for Hydra as well. I've actually heard from a lot of you guys in the comments over the last 6 months since I made my first Tramaria video, kind of apologizing to her in my audience for underestimating her damage. But a lot of you guys have switched to her as well, who are lucky enough to own her. And I've heard from a lot of you guys in the comments saying that she's just absolutely going beast mode for you guys as well. So that's the best thing to hear as a content creator, is hearing people actually have success with, you know, some of the champions that you talk about. So 892 base attack, but look again, guys. 3.5 multiplier on the A1, 4.5 multiplier on the A2. So just like Scartorsis, you have to build a lot of attack on her. You have to find it where you can get it. The good news is you can sacrifice a lot of survivability on a champion like this in lieu of getting extra attack, right? A, you might have a reviver on the team or a healer, yada, yada, yada. But B, her HP scales so well at 21, 22K that you can get by usually by sacrificing that ring or that banner for attack flat stat, right? So Tramaria is awesome. Love her, love her.
Enough is enough!
Man, there's so many that I could have included in this video that I'm like thinking of as I'm going along, because I'm going to High Elves right now, and I wanted to, this is not the dude, just a bonus for you guys. Skaramis actually has a sneaky amount of damage. HP-based champion with the AoE deals a sneaky amount of damage too. He's very, very good. I think he's probably one of my favorite control champions out of any epic out there. But it's actually Ethin the Golden. Now, we haven't talked a lot about Ethin here on the channel, but this guy is really, really sneaky good too in terms of damage. Why? It's pretty basic when you see his kit, right? On his A2, it's an AoE ×2 hitter, 4-turn cooldown. He brings a block active skills for 2 turns. Just call him Galathier. Not really, but call him that if you want to. And then a true fear on the second hit if they're not under block active skills. A really nice control and damage dealing ability. His A3, he's bringing his own increased crit damage and increased accuracy and granting the often sought after extra turn, right? We love the extra turn abilities, but check this out. Strike at the Heart, his passive. Ignores 10% of defense when attacking support, defense, and HP champions. Doesn't work against bosses, but obviously is going to help you take down those tankier, Siphies and Valkyries, etc., etc., etc. His multipliers are, he's not, well, as you can see in the area ratings too, he's kind of like a wave killer, arena champion, type of champion like that. He's not the most versatile in the world. However, that lockout skill is really nice control in the A2. A 3.4 on the A1, strong rating. A 2.1, but it's a 2-time hitter, so a 4.2 essentially on the AoE ×2. And then again, he's ignoring that defense and bringing his own increased crit damage to help you get even more damage out of this champion. All right, guys, I have 2 left for you. Yes, I do. Man, you know I'm not going to do a secret nuker video without talking about a guy who's probably not a secret nuker at all, to be fair anymore. I'm going to give you a bonus, though. I'm going to keep sneaking in the bonuses for you guys. Not Gory. I love you, Gory. Negorio. Negorio is a monster. He really is. 1376 base attack. Attack 1 enemy on Abduct by Night. Not to be weird or anything, but I really love the name Abduct by Night as an ability, too. When you use it in the battlefield, it's like, oh yeah, he's coming after you. Watch out. If he's under an increased attack, he steals all buffs before attacking, attacks all enemies, decrease the cooldown of the skill by 1 turn when attacking under an increased attack buff, which is really nice because it's a 4-turn cooldown. And then he has an increased attack on this champion for 2 turns whenever an enemy's HP drops below 30% and is protected, it can't be removed in Murderer's Lust. I like that. He brings his own increased attack. All you got to do is poke away at somebody a little bit. Negorio is, after Dirandil, I want to say he's, well, I don't know. There's a few of them. There's a few of them out there. He can be a great arena nuker, though. A 1.2 on a 2-time hitter on the A1, a 5.2 multiplier on the A2, super solid, and a 4.5 on the AoE on the A3 ability. Okay, your bonus is a newish Sylvan Watcher epic. It's this guy right here, Pan the Bowhorn. Now, kind of like Ethin. Well, maybe not like Ethin, but I'm just going to talk about Pan. Pan is a bit one-dimensional. Faction Wars, Waves, Arena, right? Maybe 3-dimensional. He's got to increase attack and increase speed on this champion for 3 turns. I love that he brings the big version on a 3-turn cooldown of both of these essential buffs. And I might as well just throw him on the list, right? At this point, we're talking about him for already 30 seconds here. He's bringing his own increased attack and increased speed. He's a triple hitter on the A3. He's got True Fear on the A3. He's ignoring 50% of the target's resistance if the target's speed is equal to or less than this champion. If it's a boss, he's placing a weaken as well. He's got a freeze on the A1. He's ignoring 50% of the target's resistance if the target's speed. Again, he's a very, very weird and interesting epic nuker, but he is a nuker. This is not him. This is Neorio still. I need to pull him up because we're adding him to the list ad hoc here. Pan. So he has a 2 attack multiplier on his A1, but it's a ×2 hitter. So that's really, really strong there. He's a 3.8 on his AoE, and he's a 1.9 on the triple hitter on his A3. A godlike damage rating there on Pan. All right, Pan, welcome to the list, man. You snuck your way in. All right, last but not least, guys, is an old school legendary champion. And this guy, he's not an undead horde, he's a dark elf. But this, and why am I in Sylvan Watchers? Didn't I just press dark elf? Fire him!
Nah, I didn't do it. Or did I? Nah, I didn't. Or maybe I did not do it. Did you? I didn't do it. All
right, Ghostborn. It's Ghostborn, guys. Ghostborn is probably obvious for you guys, but he's a support champion, and he's got 2 AoE attacks. It scales off attack and speed, one of the few champions out there, right, that scales off of speed. Obviously, there's the rabbit. I'm totally drawing a blank. But Ancestral Spirits as well. Another AoE attack, a 4-turn cooldown. So we have an AoE, and the cool thing about this dude is he has decreased defense that cannot be resisted. Now, he does bring heal reduction as well, but if you don't need the heal reduction or the decreased defense on his A1, because it can't be resisted, you can build Ghostborn to be like an uber nuker for your team. You don't need to worry about accuracy, so that means put attack on the banner instead. Go all out attack. His defense and his HP are actually pretty decent too, so you can build a little survivability pretty easily with substats on this guy. Ghostborn can deal some nice damage, and you have the luxury of being able to focus basically on just that, his damage. Now, Ghostborn also brings increased attack on all allies. On the Ancestral Spirits is A3, decreased defense, can't be resisted, and increased attack on all allies for 2 turns, obviously including himself. His multipliers are a 3.8 on his A3, and an attack plus attack ×2 plus speed divided by 100. Obviously, it smacks.
I hope there is no mathematician.
All right, guys, and a 4.5 on his A1. A 4.5 on an A1 is really, really solid, guys. So there it is, guys. That is 10 secret nukers. Maybe some of them, maybe 11, maybe 12, maybe 13. We snuck in a few there, right? Some of them maybe already knew. Some of them weren't so secret at all. But maybe some of them you didn't know about. But if you don't know, now you know.